Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark on this Saturday morning cartoon special. Have a lovely gentleman today, all the way from over the pond, Mr. Rob Harris. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Hi.
Yeah, because it's 2 o'clock for you, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Thanks for doing a middle of the day, squashing the middle of the day show.
It's fine. I literally I cleared my schedule for the last year, and I made this. This slot available.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, dude. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that just a little bit in the beginning here. I know we talked a little bit before show, but when all this shut down for you guys, like, did you have a tour planned? Obviously, like, were you like ready to go back out on the road, or was it the middle of a tour?
I had gigs booked. I just joined a new band actually, so it's still obviously with Jamiroquai, but I got there's a band here in the UK called Brother Strut, and they're a funk band and cool. It's actually got the bass player Paul Turner from Jamiroquai. So Jamiroquai just finished a long 2-year tour, and the idea is we have a couple of months off and go back into the studio and start making another record. And then I had a line, a load of gigs with this band Brother Strut, and they all just the whole diary just went overnight, and I did the thing of just I actually was doing another project with another artist, a French artist, and I was supposed to go to Russia, to Moscow, to do a show, and that was literally on the cusp of when they closed everything down. So we locked down here. My wife and I locked down a week before lockdown happened, because I just was like, I was kind of watching the news. I thought, this is bad, and I did the thing. I made the conscious decision to just clear everything out of my calendar. I just knew I didn't want it. I didn't want to do it incrementally throughout the year, thinking, oh, well, maybe the gigs in September might stay. I just went, it's all gone. So I didn't have that feeling of, I just ripped the plaster off really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Man, that must have been heartbreaking too, because maybe you were tired and needed a break too. 2 years on the road, man. Woo.
Yeah, well, it's as I was saying to you before, for many musicians, this will be the longest time. Musicians and actors and all that. This will be the longest time of being at home. Yeah. I didn't even realize, I started to sort of get a bit twitchy, sort of towards the end of last year. And my wife was like, what's the matter with you? And then it dawned on me, I'm so used to being away that this is, I've never spent a year in my house ever, I'm just away all the time. Even, throughout the year, you find you might do a little weekend run, or there's a week here or maybe a month there. So I actually, like other musicians out there, you've had to get used to being at home, and then, what do I do?
Has your wife been like, sweet, you're home, or is she like, get out of here?
Well, we've been together six and a half years now, and she's just used to me being away. And I think she found it tough as well, having this sort of crazy, like, we're all a bit twisted in the head. I think musicians, I drive her crazy because, she's thinking about, what do we need shopping, and we've got to clean the house and do this stuff. And I'm going, what would that pedal sound like if it's in that one? And I'm just away with the fairies. So that was her getting used. She only got glimpses of that. Now she's got sustained, I'm away with the fairies,
Oh my God, dude. Well, sooner than later, man, I feel like this is about to pop and you can start playing some guitar for people again.
So. Yeah.
So with that band, Rob, with the Brother Strut, were you guys like about to like release some music, or was it just that you had some tunes, you're just going to go out and test the waters? Like, what's going on with that?
I never actually, so I kind of got the gig because the other guitar player had enough. He was pulling out. So they've released, I think they've released a couple of albums, but they were very much sort of a YouTube band, they came along. And I think, they've had a little bit of interest here in the UK, a following in the UK and a following in Europe, So I was just I knew the guys anyway. Paul Turner, the bass player from Jamiroquai, he's been a member for years. I kind of know all of the guys that are in the band. And they were like, you know, do you want to jump on board and join the band, you know, and do these shows with us? I was like, yeah, great. You know, just finishing tours. And all the shows were in the UK. And it's not, you know, it's kind of a small mid-level gig, you know, where you're playing small clubs, which I love. That's my favorite kind of thing to do. And I've yet to play with them. I've done some recording, just one track actually, sort of remotely during this year, because they decided to put something out. But I've not actually been in a room with them yet. I was going to sort of go in and do 2 days rehearsal and then do the run of shows. So, one of the main guy from the band, I think he moved over to Thailand just before, I think a couple of months before the pandemic hit, because he was running a studio over there. And it's a amazing studio, because Jamiroquai recorded. There's a I think it's called Karma Studios over in Thailand. This is amazing SSL desk and beautiful live room, and it's really it's quite an inexpensive studio to work in. And the previous Jamiroquai album, we did a month there, I think, maybe 3 weeks recording over there. But this guy Steve Jones, who runs Brother Strut, he was over there. And we were supposed to go over and do 2 or 3 weeks recording over in Thailand in this. So all of those things went. Man, but, you know.
It could be worse places to be recording, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's a lovely spot. You know, it's a lovely spot. It's unfortunately it's it's in a beautiful fishing village over in Thailand, but unfortunately it's just down the road from a place called Pattaya, which is, the people are lovely, but the place is like the gateway to hell. It's like you know, it's like the scene from a Guns N' Roses video or something. It's just full on. It's like, you know, an attack on the senses. But the studios, it was great experience being there. But yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because so there's so many. I don't understand this. Maybe you can explain to me where this comes from. But there are so many great funk bands from the UK.
Okay.
Like, what is it about like funk music and like hard hitting, like, I mean, like, you guys obviously kind of trailblazed, like Jamiroquai kind of trailblazed that, you know, early on. But like the Rufus Black band with like Scott and stuff.
Yeah,
like
Scott.
What is it about in the UK? Like there's all these amazing like funk groove bass bands.
We obviously pick it up from you guys. You know, it's just, it comes out. There is a difference. I think there's a difference in the way we hear it. We, you know, like it worked the opposite way. You know, in the States, you took the sound of the Beatles and turned it into something else, and we kind of did it in reverse here. You know, so right. I think it's just our interpretation of it, and, you know, mix it with the bad weather and the grumpy disposition of some of the Brits. It just comes out in a different way. You know, I remember being shocked. You know the band Average White Band. Do you know that band? They're from Scotland.
Yeah,
Scottish band. You know, and I was like, really? They sound like they're from Detroit or something. You know, it just is, the influences come in a different way. One example of this was I played for this artist, a British artist. I grew up not really listening to funk music. I grew up hearing it from my sister playing, you know, around the house. It would be the Jacksons, you know, Thriller, Off the Wall was being played all the time, lots of Stevie. But my sister's favorite band was a British pop band called, and that was really early 80s. It was a band called Haircut 100, right? And they were pop, super pop. But the guitar playing was really funky, really like quite energetic, fast 16th note funk. And I had that pounded into my brain every day from my sister. And I got to work with the guy a few years ago, the guy, the leader of the band, and we were playing that song. and we were talking, and I noticed that I played the guitar part. He was playing and I was playing, and we were playing it exactly the same way. And I was going, oh, where did you get all your influence from? And he said, well, I said, was it like Nile Rodgers and stuff like that? He said, no, it was actually the Talking Heads. Okay. And it was almost like a punk twist on funk music. It was like they took the Talking Heads used to have that kind of jagged funk approach.
Totally.
And I was like, okay. So it comes over from your side to this side, and I think people just twist it and add it with some, we're playing, they play it like they're longing to be in the sunshine, over here.
Man, it's funny that you say that, because when my wife and I came over, we just lucked out because we landed in London. We took the train to Scotland,
right,
in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And we came back to London, and we had no rain. And I was like,
okay.
But it was, I don't know if it's a specific time of year there, because it was June.
Yeah. When the weather's good here, it's one of the most, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I love living here, and I grew up in the Middle East, so I kind of missed out on a lot of stuff, British sort of culture, as I grew up. So even when the weather's bad here, I still love it.
Yeah.
I know we all. That's the stereotypical thing, Brits complaining about the weather, and I'm only doing it today because it is literally pissing it down outside right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. So on the tip of records and stuff. So I usually ask my guests.
Yeah.
Because I have a very specific moment, Rob, where like music hit me. Because I grew up, like, when I was young, I was a jock. Like, I was playing soccer and basketball and lacrosse. And then, like, right when I was about to go into middle school, I heard Pearl Jam for the first time, and it made me want to play guitar.
Yeah.
So, like, and not just guitar, I would say as a global thing, it made me want to, like, understand music, So, like, earlier on, I know you were saying that record kind of, like, spawned something in you, but, like, is there, like, a pinpoint moment before that too, or was that, like, the culmination?
I started playing guitar when I was 7. So, and I think it was me. We used to get, so although we lived in the Middle East, in Qatar, we used to come back home to the UK once a year. And back in those days, there was a show called Top of the Pops, which was the music TV show. It's one of them, but it was on every Thursday, and all of your favorite bands would be on there, and I just remember being drawn to it, and when I was 7, so that was like 1978. So I was just glued to it, and I knew my dad had a guitar up in the loft, up in the attic, and I'd hassle him, Dad, get the guitar, and I used to get little like ice cream tubs, the plastic ice cream tubs. I used to stretch elastic bands over it and twang it. I was constantly making sounds with that. So then I hassled my dad to go and get this guitar out of the loft for me, and I just didn't put it down. Ever since then, I just used to sort of couldn't play at all, but I used to sort of dance around in my room and play, pretending I was in whatever band that I was listening to, and then I think, that's just what I did. That was I was never really into sports. Didn't like football or anything like that. It was just music the whole time. So I don't think there was a specific thing. It was just all music. My earliest sort of bands that I listened to, my earliest guitar heroes, when I started having lessons, were people like Mark Knopfler, and The Edge, and Andy Summers, and also quite distinct. Particularly, there was a guitarist in the UK back in the early '80s called Alan Murphy, and he was a session guitar player. He started off in Kate Bush's band, and then he went on to do sessions, and he played with people like Go West, Level 42, Mike and the Mechanics. So it's a very 80s sound, But that's when I first realized that a session musician was a thing, and that's when I was like, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be a session musician. And then that discovery led me on to Carlton, Mike Landau, Steve Lukather, Dean Parks. Those are the players that I still kind of revere. Tim Pierce, of course,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's amazing that we got through the 80s and still like the guitar in the 90s because of all of that drenched chorus tone. It's interesting, man, because like there's like so many players that I love and revere, and I can't listen to early stuff that they do because of it.
Right.
Like even like I'm a huge Wayne Krantz fan. Like his Long to Be Loose album, like some of the tones on that, I'm like, ugh. Like it's like he's becoming Wayne on that album almost. Where he's gonna go. But like some of the tones, man, like woo.
I know, but you know what I've realized is coming back. I think that a little bit that stuff is coming back.
I know.
I'm getting a lot of sessions where people are saying, yeah, can you sort of reference this 80s thing? And,
Yeah.
And I'm more into it from the sort of the standpoint of Peter Gabriel, the guitar sounds on Peter Gabriel's records and bands like Tears for Fears,
Oh, yeah.
A touch of tasteful chorus. It did get just crazy,
Yeah. I could totally see it coming back. I know exactly what you're saying. But like the Peter Gabriel reference is perfect because I was doing dishes this morning listening to Peter Gabriel. And In Your Eyes came on, and like that song, I told my wife when she was walking through, I was like, I think I could listen to this song all day and not get sick of it.
Yeah.
There's so much beautiful stuff going on, not only with the songwriting, but with like the production in that record.
Oh, it's
a
masterpiece. So my son now, my son's 19. He's playing guitar. He's writing. He wants to be an artist. He's kind of is doing it, but the amount of time he plays me something and I go, this is great, so one of his favorite bands is a band called the 1975. I actually love them. I went to see them play and they did a hell of a show and they're a great band, and I was like, wow, it's one of the best things I've seen in ages. But we were listening to this stuff and I'd always go, look, I'd say to him, Ollie, don't be pissed off with me, but listen to Peter Gabriel, listen to Tears for Fears, listen to the detail that those guys did back then when it was really difficult to do, and he's now delving back to that stuff, bands like Prefab Sprout, and it's very 80s, but the song craftsmanship was so good.
It really was like that. And like Peter Gabriel in general, to like have the fortitude and the fearlessness to write modal music in a time where it was like hair band central, and you know what I mean? That's some balls to like put some serious music out like that and have it be hits.
Yeah. And you can see, so I've been to his studio, Real World, I mean, and you can kind of see, it's in the air there. It's kind of, there's something about where that place is.
Yeah.
It's quite distracting. I don't know if you've ever seen Real World, or
it's just inside, just like some video from inside the studio, like the control room, really.
It's just, it's like the area is so far away from what you think, if you think to sort of Sunset Strip and the studios and all the gigs and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing like that. It's like cows walking past the windows, and nice. And I think that's where it perhaps comes from. It is very brave for those people, for those artists at that time, to be doing the complete opposite of what the fashionable thing to do was.
Yeah,
but then trailblazing as well at the same time. Doing things that are shaping the sound of things today.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, I can't think of a better written song than Everybody Wants to Rule the World too. You know what I mean? It's like, and the guitar solo on that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Like, and I love the fact that solo comes in so late in the song.
Yeah.
It's almost like, we're not done yet. Check this out.
You know what I mean? It's like there's a journey. The song has a journey, which you don't have to get to the chorus within half a millisecond of the thing being played.
Yeah.
Songs used to be crafted.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Have you heard Lettuce's version of that? Of Everybody Wants to Rule the World?
No, I haven't actually. No.
So Lettuce put it out, but before that, Eric Krasno had his band Chapter 2. So Nigel Hall, Adam Deitch, Eric Krasno. I can't remember who was playing bass at that time, but they do. You should look it up. It's a killer version of that tune because it's funky. Like they put a little bit of funk into it,
right?
And a little bit of math rock into it as well, which I'm sure is Adam Deitch kind of, making that happen. But it's a really good version.
I really like Mark Lettieri did a version of it as well. That was really cool. Yeah,
I remember that. He's a great player too, man.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
He's another person I would put in your guys' category. So like, let's talk a little bit about your right hand technique and everything.
Okay.
So you, Corey Wong, Mark Lettieri are probably the three cats that I think of immediately when I think of really good right hand technique and everything. So,
that's quite an honor to be mentioned in the same sentence as those two guys. But yeah,
no, and your like level of, I feel like you have a really great sensibility for harmony too. So like the voicings that you're playing in, whatever project you're in, but like I watched a ton of Jamiroquai videos over the years, and I've seen you on stage and filling the gaps, and sonically you're always right in the right spot. So like, talk to me a little bit about both of those things.
So I kind of, I've been sort of touring and playing for quite a long time, sort of recording and on the road and doing sort of, function band gigs, like club gigs. And it's only through teaching over this last sort of period that I've been doing. I've actually been looking at what it is that I'm doing, because you don't really think about it until you kind of go, how do I explain this? What am I doing? And I think what it is that with that style of music, it's quite busy. There's a lot of 16ths flying around, so the guitar parts need to be small. They need to be. You need to do 2-note chords, single bubbling lines. Everything needs to fit. Especially if you've got a keyboard player that's covering all the harmony. The guitar parts need to sit within that and not take up too much space. So I think that's where it comes from. And then you kind of reverse engineer it to, you listen to You Got the Love by Rufus and Shaka Khan, and you go, okay, and that's Ray Parker Jr. on guitar, and you're going to go, that's what it is. It's like, I suppose, making some food, and you're used to piling way too much salt in, and everyone's pulling their face. Playing huge chords in a funk setting, more often than not, will get you muted on the desk, or turned down. So it's just making everything small and compact and almost freeze dried to make it fit in, and then rhythmically fit in.
So if you're playing something like over a vamp, let's just say like you're in a vamp and the keyboard player's taking a solo or something like that. If you're just vamping on like a D9, what notes are you going to choose to play, and like what area of the neck, like what are you thinking about when you're comping?
Same thing. I'll sort of make sure I've got the third in there, and make sure I've got the flat and seventh most of the time. And then, I might start lower, so I'm sort of around the 5th fret playing the D9 there, and then move up, as the section goes on to build excitement, maybe sort of move up, but because you're getting higher in pitch, you might be able to add the 5th in as well. You can kind of do that stuff, but it is usually keeping things small. And I explained it the other day, because I was giving a lesson. I was talking about the song We Can Work It Out. It's a cover. Shaka Khan did a cover of We Can Work It Out, which is a killer. It's amazing. But the student was kind of going, what are the chords? So I told him what the chords were, and he was going, but you're not playing those chords. And I said, well, you play tiny little segments of the chords, only enough that the listener can hear the harmony. And try and think of it like you're skim reading. You don't need to read every word. You just need to read. You can kind of get the gist of what you're learning or reading about by jumping over words. You you see the word, and then and that's the same kind of thing with this style of playing. I think you can miss out lots of information, and it's the sound that cuts through with just the right couple of notes that is like a, it's just it is the sound that's adding. So someone's playing like a chorusy Rhodes, you need something that's small and clean and no chorus on it, and sonic and actually harmonically not buried deep inside what the voicing of the Rhodes is. It's something that's a bit higher, So if the chords are dense and thick, you do something up the other end of the neck, just to cut through. So that's how I think of it.
Do you ever go from, so Jamiroquai is a huge band on stage. So do you ever go from that gig to a smaller gig where it's like a three or four piece and you have to like completely flip the script?
Yeah.
Be like, okay, I don't have to worry about a horn section and keys. Now I have to like get a little bit bigger. Then
fill the space a bit more.
Yeah. Then how do you approach it then though? So if you're playing a similar style of music where you're playing funk music, do you make your harmony bigger if you don't have a keyboard player to fill in that in?
I think you just do it from listening. I think I don't think I ever sort of do it as a conscious decision. I don't go, oh, I need to fill up more space. I try and treat stuff as I'm playing to what I'm listening to. So if I need a bit more, I play more. I fill it up a bit more. You can hear that's in a studio. If you're working with a band, you need to find where you fit. So if the keyboard player is not on this tune, oh, actually, I need to fill up a bit more here. You just do it. You just kind of, and I think that only comes from listening to what do I add to this? What do I take away from this? Rather than it just comes from listening. Yeah, that's how I do it. I don't consciously go, oh, I'm going into a trio setting now, I'm going to play bigger. Because then sometimes I might play smaller. To tighten things up. When you listen to the Chili Peppers, he's playing single lines quite a lot of the time. Frusciante plays single lines, and the bass is so busy that and I don't mean that in a bad way. That's the sound of that band. It's how do I play something to add to this that doesn't clutter?
Yeah. That's such a great thing to, I 100% agree with you. And I've taught that to a lot of younger guitarists who I've taught lessons to, like always like play for the song and like play for whatever's happening around you so you don't step on toes. And that's a very mature musician. And I can tell that you have very big ears just from seeing you play. I can tell.
Massive. The bigger, the shorter my hair, the bigger my ears got. Yeah.
All right. So let me hear. So there's a bunch of people in here saying hello. Mario, what's up? Everybody's stopping in today. I got my buddy Frankie. And then you and I talked about this in Instagram. So the Gladio came your way.
Yeah.
So, and I told you, man, I that pedal, when I got it, and I have both versions now. I have the dual and like the S.
Yeah.
And man, it's pretty inspiring, right?
It's amazing. Really, really, really cool pedal. Yes. I've got a lot of pedals, but I don't, I'm not one of these guys that has to have every new thing that I see. I don't have the time for that. I kind of like, I have had the same things on my board for years that just don't change. But I have actually recently put a few new things on there that have been really inspiring to me. So unless it's inspiring to me, I'm not kind of bothered about it. So the Gladio turned up the other day, and I'd heard about it from a friend of mine in the UK who runs a guitar course called Guitar Breaks, and it was actually at a guitar show that happened 2 weeks before lockdown, and he was telling me about the Gladio. It's like, you've got to check out this pedal. And obviously lockdown happened. I was like, I might never play the guitar again, So, but yeah, it's such a cool pedal and very versatile, really versatile. I used it I had a session earlier this week for it was a product demo session, and I used it. I get booked to do these things for PRS guitars because they're just down the road from me, and I never turn up with anything prepared. They kind of just go, "There's the guitar," and rather than just me sit and noodle, I'm not a good guitar store noodler. I can't. If I ever feel like I've got to be impressive, I'm just terrible. So I always have to.
That.
No, but I feel that way. I just my confidence. I just go, ugh. You know. So I always try and write something, and then I wrote a little backing track, just guitar and a shaker, you know, and then I kicked on the Gladio for the sort of melody line, and it was like even the engineer was like, "What's that? That sounds great. What is it?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool pedal.
So you mentioned you got a couple things new. Like, what else did you get new?
I recently have I got the Friedman BEOD, which is something I usually go for, sort of quite creamy sounds, and this is quite Marshall-esque. You know, it gives you that real sort of rock thing, and that came just in time because I did a gig for a band, a British rock band. It was a streamed TV gig. For a band called Thunder. I was helping them out. One of their guitar players couldn't make it, so I did that, and that was pretty much on for the whole gig, the BEOD, which is great. And I've recently just got the Vermurum Shanks ODS1, which, yeah. So I've had a Nobles ODR one on my board for 15 years. You know, I absolutely love it. It's my main drive, and I've literally just swapped them out. Just to, you know.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. I was actually talking about that with my buddy Terry, who's in here.
Okay.
Because he's been talking about it. Because we both have the Janray too.
Yeah, I've got one of those too. It's incredible.
Which is amazing. But I hear that some people are saying the Shanks, they like it better.
Well, it's just different. I think they're very different pedals, actually. The Janray, I think you need, that's quite amp specific. You know, I think it kind of works with certain amps better than other amps, and you need some volume with that pedal. I think it is one of those very reactive to the amp pedals, the Janray. But the Shanks kind of does a much, well, I haven't really investigated it enough yet because I just tweak until I get the sound when I'm recording, and you know, but it just sounds like a much more refined version of the ODR, the Nobles to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Really lovely.
What wah pedal have you used in the past? Like your wah pedal, I was watching a video from the BBC a couple weeks back when you guys played in a small jazz club in London.
Okay, yeah, the Jazz Cafe,
yeah. And that wah tone is awesome.
Well, I have no idea what it was. It was probably people ask me this a lot. I've probably got about 5 wahs around. You know, I've got 3 up there that need repairing, and my choice of wah, I hate to say this, is whichever one's closest to me at the time. And I've tried so many, and they all do different things, but I'm one of these guys, you know, I'm one of these guys that I just get the wah on and then shape things after it to make it sound the way I want it to sound. So I do use the one I've been using on my live board for the last Jamiroquai tour was the Dunlop CAE wah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Which is great, and lots of tone shaping options on it, and nice little boost things that you can sort of crunch the final stage of the wah. I really like that one. But then they sent me the small, where is it? The small mini wah, the tiny, which I've used that on sessions for this last year. It usually is the one that's just closest to me.
So funny.
I hate to say it.
I like that about you, though. I like the fact that you're just like, dude, whatever. I mean, like, you can't let the gear dictate what you do. You have to kind of make the gear work for you. So it's like,
yeah, in this, as a lot of us are now, 95% of my sessions are done in this room now. So, and usually there's quite tight deadlines with the producers. So I just want to get the parts down as quickly as possible and not be chasing tones too much. You know, I want to have the idea and record as quickly as possible, and only change it if it's not right. You know, that's I'm not particularly, you know, I had someone ask me a question on my YouTube. Oh, my lovely wife bringing me a beer. Thanks,
hey, how are
you? Cheers. Yeah, I got a question on my YouTube channel, you know, and I've got a Sir, you know, I used in a video, I used my white Sir Strat, and then my Silver Sky, you know, my PRS Silver Sky. And which one do you prefer? I don't really. They do two completely different things.
Yeah.
You know, I love them both. They're great, but I'll choose one for this and I'll choose one for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because you, for a long time, I mean, I've seen you play just a Fender Strat. I've seen you play a lot of PRS stuff. Is PRS kind of more of your kind of guitar choice right now in terms of like humbuckers or?
So my main Strat is actually, it's a Japanese Squire, Japanese vintage Squire that you know, it's just, and there's nothing, barely anything left of the original guitar. It's got a new neck and new pickups and new machine heads. But, and then I've been working with that guitar for years on Jamiroquai records and a few other things like my Telly, my thin line Telly and my 335. And then for the last album that we did, it was a very synth driven record. So I also wanted to do something that was slightly different guitar wise. So I was using my DGT, my PRS DGT, the black one back there. Mm-hmm. And I'd had it for a few years before and I'd used it loads. But on the last record, it just has a specific sound that doesn't sound like a Strat, doesn't sound like a Telly, doesn't sound like a Gibson. It's the coil tap in the middle of the, you know, you've got a coil split and it's the middle pickup, you know, in between the two. Mm-hmm. And it just has this front end to the transient that just cuts through this heavy synth sounds. And I just love the guitar. It's just a great instrument to play. Yeah. And it just, you know, I pick that up more often than anything else at the moment. You know, I've got two of them. I've got a black one and a white one, and they do sound different. The black one is solid mahogany. It's all mahogany, and the white one's got a maple top, and the all mahogany one is just darker and warmer for me. So yeah.
Right. Do you have a 594 too, or?
No, I don't. I've got, so from PRS. I think I'm not. I mean, I'm kind of an endorsee. I think I don't know. We never really had the chat. I met them. So the distribution place is just down the road from me in Cambridge, in the UK distribution place, and I've known Gavin from PRS for a long time. And I went to a German music show called the Frankfurt Music Mess. It's like the equivalent of the NAMM show. Yeah. And it was the first time I'd been there, and this is probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And I'd never been there before, and I'd never really played PRSs. And I was walking past the stand, and Gavin came. It was like, "Hi, Rob," you know, chatting away, and he said, "You only play Strats, really, don't you, normally?" And I was like, "Well, kind of, yeah. That's what I do. I tour with." And he said, "Well, try this one out." And it was the Brent Mason signature guitar. And it's got two humbuckers on it and a single coil in the middle with the coil tap. There's a lot of options for coil taps. And I remember I was on the stand and I was playing, and I was just sort of playing some funk stuff. And Paul Reed Smith came running over. He's like, "Man," you know, I think it was probably because everyone's playing heavy sounds and blues licks, and I was playing some funk stuff. He was like, "Oh man, really?" You know, we chatted a bit. He's you know, and he was like, "Get Rob over, get him this guitar." And that was, I used that guitar on tour, and I went over there and I picked up that guitar and the black DGT, because I've been a big fan of Dave Grissom for years, and I just wanted to try that out as well, because I'm always looking for tonal options in the studio. That's what I'm after, is different tones, you know. And yeah, they just kind of, they're very stable, consistent, beautifully built guitars.
Yeah.
I must say, I'm not really. I like a plain looking guitar. You know, I don't want anything overly flash, but I think they look great and they play great. I don't really go for the flame tops and all that. You know, it's just not my thing. But everyone I played, they just play great.
Yeah.
I did. I can't really say. Actually, I played one the other day that's not been released yet. It's a new edition.
I saw your post, and you're like,
oh,
I can't say what's off screen, but it's really good.
It was amazing. It was really cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I feel like PRS does that. They convert people who don't think that they would like them. So like when I had Jeff Mccartney on here, and he was like, he was talking to someone from PRS, and they're like, well, you don't really like playing anything else besides Strats and Tellys, right? And he was like, well, I'm open, but and they're like, well, what about PRS? He's like, they're lawyer guitars.
Well, that's the thing. Yep. But I think it's just because they were high end. I think they were really high end, and lawyers could afford them. And
but they converted Jeff. I mean, he's playing one. He's got a 594 now, and he's like,
right.
And they're right down the road from me too, man. They're like the plant in Maryland is like
an
hour from me, if that. So I've been there and gone through the tour and everything. And Brian Ewald, who's like their product specialist that does a lot of their videos, is a good friend of mine and has actually played bass on gigs with me.
Right.
But so I mean, I've owned several PRSs, and they really do, like, they build a really quality instrument. That's
amazing
so
and
reliable, you know.
And Paul Reed Smith, I mean, I've only met him a handful of times, and I can tell he's almost forensic about his research into, you know, how does that pickup work? You know what? And I heard that he goes out, and if he hears about anything new that's supposed to be good, he'll buy it and then kind of go, why is it good? Right. And then take that, and that's what, you know, that's really good. That's a good thing for someone who's making an instrument. I heard that they're doing a Robin Ford signature. I heard a thing with Robin Ford the other day, and it's like, yeah, they've kind of done it. I'm happy with it. So I know.
Oh man, because now they have that Joe Walsh signature. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Woo!
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah.
And those pickups, dude, those 5815 pickups that are in those guitars, those humbuckers, they sound so open and like airy, but at the same time being nice, and like they compress just enough because they're like that low turn humbucker. So it's like low output, old school, you know what I mean? Like, I think that you're right. I think that, you know, all that stuff, there's so much R&D that Paul does himself that which lends itself to making the guitars all kind of across the board sound good, you know.
But he does that because I've spoken to him about his studio. He's got a studio there. He's like, oh, if you're ever over, come and visit my studio. He does it about preamps, microphones. He's just a gear nut, you know. And and I think that's a good thing, because someone who understands how you record a guitar or any instrument is going to be making a guitar that's going to sound good when it's recorded. Yep. You know, someone who understands from the note being played to the final thing that people are hearing on a record or on a show. You kind of want that, really, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the kind of guy you want running a guitar company.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah.
What's your thought on? I wanted to ask you, as a funk guitar player, there's a stigma around compression. You know, what, like using compression pedals? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I get asked that a lot. What compressor do I use? And I actually don't. I've got one on my board. I don't use a compressor live. I may use it in the studio if I think it needs it, but I want I want my playing to be as dynamic as possible. If I'm playing soft, I want to play soft. I don't want it being squished up to make it louder,
Right.
unless that's what I want, So I have on my board, I've got a little SP compressor here, but I might switch it on once every 3 months if I need an 80s sprang or something.
Right.
But I will, when recording, I might add compression after, but I don't tend to record with compression on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have in the past. I used to use the old Boss Blue compressors, and I had a Keeley modded compressor but I found that to me sort of made the sound a bit toppy. So I think people think that compression is going to fix everything and make their playing all level. And if that's what they want, that's great. But it's not something I do a lot. I use the volume to control my volume on the guitar, and when I'm playing, I use the hang on, I forgot one in my pocket. Oh, there it is. I use these small Jazz 3s.
Yep, me too, man.
You use them.
I love them.
And they're great because I think for funk playing you get that instant transient, but when I'm playing, I use about that much of it.
Yep.
It's not out like that. When I'm playing rhythm stuff, it's that. So the sound I get is using the front of my first finger and the side of my thumb and the pick in the middle. And then if I want a harder sound, I protrude the pick a little bit more. And I'm after I want warmth out of the sound. I'm not really into the thin sort of ice picky sounds. I like warmth. So if I did that with compression, I'm losing some dynamic range, and I don't really want that. If I want to tuck in behind a verse part, I do it by playing softer, and I don't just slam loads of compression on until it's recorded. Then I compress the crap out of it.
Yeah, it's like the comparison of like practical effects versus like digital effects in movies, a green screen or just models, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like, because what amp are you using? Because that probably is compressing enough for you, you know what I mean?
I've got, you can't quite see it here, but I've got a wall of amps here. So most of the time I've got a deluxe reverb that I record through, either that or that Princeton at the back there. But that's a little bit poorly. That's a 1970s Princeton,
nice.
But that's going away to be looked at, and I use them most of the time for funk stuff. Either that or I use a DI, and they do compress themselves a bit, especially the deluxe. It's got this nice sag. It's the sound of the records that we we grew up listening to. That's what those amps do. And then I've got some other things like an old Marshall and an old Vox there, and a couple of divided by 13s.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen you with divided by 13s behind you.
Yeah, but I prefer lower wattage amps, especially in the studio. I don't want something screaming. I don't want anyone else screaming at me either.
Right. So when you go in to do a session with like Jamiroquai, are you running DI or are you running a small Princeton?
The very first album I did for Jamiroquai, which was an album called Funk Odyssey, I used for probably 90% of the songs, I used a Line 6 pod.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it's not what I wanted to use, but I kind of realized the work ethic of Jay, the singer. He wants quick, get the idea down quickly. He doesn't want anyone pissing around with the microphone. Oh, should we try a Royer there? Why don't we do a room mic? He's not interested in that. He just wants play the part. Yeah, that's fine. Move on. Next song. And quite a lot of the record was done with DI. My telly. A couple of songs I did was my thin line telly plugged straight into a Focusrite preamp. That was it.
Man.
and the parts are done like that. So I realized, oh, I need to be quick with this guy. I can't. Anything that gets in the way of the thing being recorded is already too long. He starts pacing the room. Come on, I want this down.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the last album we did, everything I did, apart from about 3 songs, was a Kemper. For the same reason. I can really quickly dial in tones and get the idea down fresh. And we did one song. We had a great engineer, right, called Josh Blair. He works with Duran. He works with Mark Ronson. He's a genius engineer. And we did 2 days in a really cool studio in London called Angel. And I had, on this particular session, I had 3 amps in different rooms with 2 or 3 mics on each amp, my pedal board, compression settings, and and everything. We spent a good morning getting this guitar tone for this sound, for this song. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, we're in another studio, and Josh, the engineer, went, "Oh man, that guitar sounds so good." I was like, "Which one?" He went, "Yeah, on this track." I went, "That's the Kemper." So I think it's just how you use it, Mm-hmm. I want to be a purist and have all my amps around all the time, but when you're doing this kind of work, sometimes you just got to go, well, how am I going to get the idea down and keep the session moving?
Dude, I embrace technology, man. I have no problems with it. Like whatever's the best sound and is going to make the song sound better. That's Like
Tim, Tim Pierce, when he gets questioned about this stuff, he would sound great plugged into a can of baked beans, but he's got all the stuff, and he has a Kemper sat there, and he's got an aux box sat there as well. But he chooses to do the way he does it because he's right. It gives the client that 5% extra of the thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure he does sessions where he's having to use a Kemper, and you wouldn't really know the difference.
No.
I'm sure some people out there go, "Oh yeah, you definitely, well, okay."
Yeah, I don't think so, man, because you have to really have a serious ear to do that first and foremost. But like, it's so good now, even compared to what it was, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
it's come so far. Like, amp modeling and like speaker modeling, like the aux is game changing. If you love your amp
mm-hmm.
and you want a simple rig, that thing is game changing, dude.
Yeah. It is, and it's just the last thing I did with this rock band. I took my Marshall out and a 4x12, and they put some mics on the front, and it was great. But I also took my aux box as well, and I said, "Do you want to just take a feed from this just in case?" Because it was for a TV, and I used the feed from the aux.
Yeah,
and it's because the sound on stage has changed now because people have got in-ears in. It's a different thing. You have to work at a different volume, It's not the same as it used to be back in the 70s.
Right.
And you have to adjust.
I bet you that's a tough. I have never ever used in-ears, and I've heard it takes some getting used to, and because I feel like as a singer, I would probably like it, so I don't blow my voice out, having that right in my ears instead of a wedge that you're struggling with all night. But like, when you first started using those, was it like, ugh?
It's strange. It's very strange. It's gotten better because I started using them when I joined Jamiroquai back in '99, and back then I was running. I had 2 Hughes and Kettners, but then after that I had a Fender Twin and a Marshall, and I was A/Bing my amps. And if you imagine, it's not natural for us to have a 57 jammed on a Marshall on a 4x12 directly into your ear. It just doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. So, but you have to get used to it, and then you have to sort of make extra effort to make eye contact with your band members, because otherwise you're in your own little world. You know, when you're not using them, you kind of position yourself on stage to get the tone right for your proximity to your amp. When you're got your ears in, everywhere you go, it's the same.
Yeah.
You know, so you want that sound to be good. So the last Jamiroquai tour we did, I used a Kemper for the tour.
Nice.
And it saved my life really, because Jay, the singer, he can't take a lot of volume on stage. The previous tour, I was using my divided by 13 JRT 915, which isn't really a loud amp, but the quieter the stage is, the louder that amp sounds, you know. So he would literally walk up behind me and turn my amp down while I'm playing. You know, and he does it to the bass player too, because he's got to sing, you know, and he's got to pitch. And so I just thought, let me get rid of this problem, and I just used the Kemper, and night after night it was just so consistent, and it sounded good every time I heard a live tape back. Also, the cool thing about it is your effects go straight down the channel. They're not coming out of your speaker into a microphone that might be slightly in the wrong position. You know, it's and for a gig like that that's doing arenas and sort of festival dates, it takes out a problem. You know, it gets rid of a problem.
Yeah, and you can fly with it. You can put it in the overhead.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That's cool, man. It's funny because like even hearing you say it, you're like, I use the Kemper.
Yeah,
it's like this thing, but I'm like, it's cool, man. Totally fine.
The thing is, it's not sexy. You know, it's not like you're going to get all your. I mean, I'm loving working with my amps and my pedals. I haven't used a Kemper in the last year and a half. And if I go out on the road again, should we all go out on the road again? I'm sure we will. I want my amps back. You know, I want that. But I know that actually that's not. The shows aren't designed for that anymore. You know, even Mark Knopfler used a Kemper on his last tour.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he profiled all of his amps in his amazing studio, British Grove. I mean, they did a really good job profiling his amps, but by all the reports I've heard was that he sounded incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. It's
hard for him to not sound incredible, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just the technology's changed. Everyone's on in-ears now. Yeah. If you're John Mayer and you've got your Dumble and your PRS amp and your 2-rock and 3 cabs, and you can be as loud as you want, yeah, do that. But that's not the gig that most of us have. Right. You know. Yeah. I'd rather be using my amps, but I also want to keep the gig and not piss everyone off.
That's a good ideology.
Yeah.
Before we do the lightning round, Rob, I wanted to ask you, do you use fuzz too?
I have some fuzzes, yes. I have a couple of fuzz pedals.
What's your go-to fuzz?
I can't. Where is it? It's here. I can't even remember the name of it. It's a germanium fuzz. It's a brown one.
Brown one.
Where is it? It's up here somewhere.
I'm a fuzz junkie. So.
A Hartman.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
The Hartman Fuzz. It was bought for me by a good mate of mine, Matt Pryor, who put on a little message I can't see it. It says happy birthday.
Oh.
But it's a great pedal. It's a really good pedal. There've been a couple of gigs where I used it, where I had to been on a stage for a hot stage in the summer, where you have to take it off the board and put it in the fridge to get it to cool down before it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
What fuzz do you use?
Right now, I still am in love with Jesse Davies, that King Tone silicon fuzz.
Okay.
That's a really good one. I have I don't know if are you familiar with this? This is really good too. The Third Stone.
I have seen that. Yeah.
That's pretty great. And then do you have any like Mythos, Zach, from
No, I don't have those.
This is a really good one. Small footprint. It's Joey Landreth's signature.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Super spitty, and then he's got like an octave fuzz that's pretty cool.
Right.
I mean, I collect a lot of this stuff, man. There's, you
I
know.
do. I use the fuzz in a way where I have the fuzz on and turn my guitar volume down so it's just about on.
Yeah.
And then I use that for funk parts sometimes because
Nice.
it's so glassy and clean. Yeah. It's a great effect.
The Kingtone stuff, man, is out of this world. Like, if you ever get a chance to check his stuff out, it's really good. So
is Scott McKeon, is he going to send you one over? Are you going to try his fuzz out?
Yeah, he said he was going to send me. He has two. I think he's going to send me both of them to check out because there's an octave fuzz and then there's a regular fuzz. Sometime in the next month or two, I think. Something like that. So,
right.
Because his sound great. His fuzz is like, anytime I hear his tone, it's just like,
oh, he's just a killer player. Such a great player.
I just got I had 3 Sirs, Rob.
Right.
I bought my first one when I sold my Klon. I told you when I sold my Klon.
Yeah.
I got my first Sir, and then I loved it so much, I wanted to get a Telly, which I still have. But I had two Sir Strats I sold, and I just got a Fender Custom Shop, and it's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. Like, it's the best guitar I've ever played. For sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like one of those like Wildwood guitars. They do like their Wildwood 10, which is like their specific specs and pickups and all that. It's a fantastic instrument. So,
do you buy? Have you got a lot of guitars? Do you have a lot or?
No, I have not now. I sold 2. I have an old '99 Strat, Fender Strat. I have that Sir Telly. I bought that custom shop. I have a P bass that I bought that looks like it's a Mexican P bass. It's like a 60th anniversary that looks like Pinot's bass.
Right. Okay.
It's like that Fiesta red Pinot thing.
Yeah, it's not like the salmon pink. I've got one. I've got a Mexican one back there. That's They're
killing, man. Like,
they're great.
Mexican bass. Those P basses sound great.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I have a resonator that I play a little bit.
Right.
An acoustic Taylor, but I don't have a ton. I mean, I kind of thinned the herd a little bit.
You got rid of some, yeah.
I need a P90. I need a P90 guitar. I really want to get a P90 instrument.
Check out. I did a video recently for the Revstar, the Yamaha Revstar with a P90 in it. It was a really cool guitar, actually. Okay. Not crazy expensive, but it just sounded good. And then I did another one for their SG, you know, like the old school Santana SG, and that had P90s in it as well, and that was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was the Revstar a dual P90, or is it just in the bridge?
I think it was just in the bridge. Like I think so. I can't recall. The SG was. I actually preferred the SG one with the P90s in it. They're not, you know, I was quite shocked at how, I don't know why, but how good that guitar was. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Buck loves those. I know he plays those. So
yeah, he's so good.
He's a good player.
There's so many good guitar players out there at the moment. It's great.
Yeah. And you know what? Before we do the lightning round, get down. You should tell people about where your YouTube stuff is, because you started doing that, and we should mention that.
Yeah, well, yeah, my YouTube channel is called Rob Harris Guitar. How original is that? But I just do, you know, the odd little funk lesson, and you know, sometimes I'm just rambling while I'm out walking my dogs, and but yeah, and a few product reviews. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. You know, in the YouTube world, it's a new world for me. Like it is for both of us.
Yeah, man,
it's a new world. It's interesting. I watch YouTube more than I watch TV now. I'm you know, constantly watching interviews and catching up with my daily Tom Bukovac fix.
Yep.
And you know, Tim Pierce. You know, these are all my heroes at the moment.
Yeah. I got to get Tom on here, man. I don't know him. I got to find him and get him on, because he's such a wealth of knowledge, and
just
such a great approach to the instrument, you know.
Yeah, I remember watching a video of him in his garage. It's still up there. I think it's probably from 10 years ago, and it's just him noodling in his garage, and I was like, this guy is incredible. I didn't know anything about him before then, and yeah. So this last year, this is probably the best thing that's come out of, apart from me getting married last year. So I don't upset my wife.
Cool.
Yeah, but the best thing to come out of the pandemic is the homeschooling channel.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
He just gives away such a wealth of knowledge, and he's such a great player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he seems like a good dude too. You know, there's like some people that you can just tell he's a good dude. So
yeah.
All right, Rob, you ready to do this, man? You want to do
Yeah.
lightning round
Okay.
again?
I'll
All
brace
right.
myself.
All right, so we got a little bit of I don't know if you can hear that, but a little
Yeah.
metronome for some suspense.
Okay.
First question might be tough for you,
Okay.
but it's always the same. Lennon or McCartney?
Oh, McCartney.
Okay.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know.
McCartney. Yeah.
Okay. Beach or the mountains?
Mountains.
12/8 or 4/4? Would you rather play in?
4/4.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Marshall or Orange?
Marshall.
Okay.
Marshall.
All right. Candy. Okay. Lion Bar or a Yorkie Bar?
Lion Bar.
Okay. Talk or text?
Talk.
Stadium gig or club gig?
Club gig.
All right. If you're going to be reincarnated, would you rather come back as a cat or as a dog?
A dog.
I knew it. Yeah. All right. And then the last one, Rob. Sometimes this is super hard for people. Sometimes it's easy.
Okay.
If you could take one album and just erase it from your memory, just you've never heard it, just to listen to it for the first time again and experience it, what album would that be?
Grace by Jeff Buckley.
Oh, okay. Tell me why. Tell me why. That's a great record. Good
day. I absolutely. I think that's one of the finest collections of songs, performances, recordings. It's just such a great, beautiful record.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's
your favorite track on that record.
I think it's Last Goodbye, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Such a great. I was in a studio the first time I heard it. I was like, "What is this? Who is this?"
Yeah. I mean that line in that song that sticks with me so hard when he says, "Kiss me out of desire, baby, not obligation."
Yeah.
I think it's the line in that song. The first time I heard that, I was like, "Ooh, get it!"
Yeah.
As a lyricist, like, there's some stuff on that record that is like so good.
It's such a great sounding record.
I wonder what he would be doing now, man. Like, he wouldn't have passed.
Probably duetting with Kanye or something. Sadly. Yeah. I mean, but he did it. I mean, you know, the stuff that came out after, I've not listened to all of it because it just didn't feel the same. But that Everybody Here Wants You track that was it's just a classic.
Yeah.
It was such a great record.
I think they were going to make a biopic.
Starring Robert Pattinson.
Oh, really? I thought it was Reeve Carney. I thought Reeve Carney was going to be it. Do you know about that guy?
Is he Zayn Carney's brother?
He is, yeah.
Right, okay.
He was in that Showtime show, Penny Dreadful. But he's a musician. He's a great guitar player. He's a great singer.
Yeah.
That band Carney was like Zayn and his brother Reeve. That band, that band was great.
Zayn's amazing. I've watched a thing of him just doing a live, like, it's like, wow.
He's got some bebop chops out there too, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. There's so many great players out there. It's great. We're living in them. Oh well, we're living in a good time for guitar players, I think. You know, yeah, they might not sell any records, but at least they can get out through this forum, you know. And it's great. It's a good time to be around and not gigging.
I mean, I think the important part is that we're staying creative and staying happy and healthy. And we're having fun, you know. Like I don't make any money off of YouTube. This is a labor of love, and I want to expose some people to other guitarists that people might not know, or drummers or keyboard players or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's just, I love music so much that there's like the guy that I had on this past Wednesday was Oliver Wood from the Wood Brothers. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
No.
But man, you should check their music out. It's so good. So it's Chris Wood from Medeski Martin and Wood.
Okay. Right.
His
Okay.
brother Oliver and this guy John O'Ricks, who's a killing drummer, but he plays keys and drums at the same time.
I know.
So good.
But
anyway, you should check them out.
Yeah, I'll check them out.
Everybody, make sure you go check out Rob's YouTube channel. So Rob Harris Guitar, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
And then you're on Instagram and you post guitar stuff there all the time.
Yeah, Instagram, and I just discovered TikTok as well. I don't know what I'm doing with it, but
look at you.
I know. My neighbor said you should do it, because it's just I do. We were saying this earlier. I think this stuff is. I know that some people go, "Oh, it's driving me mad every time I put the thing on. There's this drummer doing this or this." It's like, well, yeah, but this is like our business card now for, And also, sometimes it's just fun to play some music. And what else are we going to do? Right now we can't get out and play, so we're just playing.
Yeah. So, amen, brother. Amen.
It's all good.
All right. Well,
thanks for having me, Mark.
Dude, thank you so much, man. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. You can hang tight for a second. You guys take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you soon.
Bye.